Welcome to Escaping Purgatory, a podcast where we rewatch Supernatural, then talk it through in the hopes that we can finally escape this show.
Join us each week and leave comments on upcoming episodes, and hopefully together we can escape Supernatural Purgatory.
Hi guys. We're laughing a lot this week. It's going to be a good one. And to celebrate breaking free of the narrative, we might just swear on this episode. Let's do it. Let's fucking do it, Annabelle.
Let's fucking do it. The reason why we're so giggly at the beginning is because I already attempted it, and it might come off a little... It's a little too early, let's put it that way.
It's a little aggressive.
It's a little aggressive.
This early in the morning.
You know, you do your morning stretches, you get your morning coffee, you go outside and you scream fuck at the world.
It's true though. That's true. I think that's a good routine. So this week we are watching Ghostfacers with an exclamation point. That is very important.
Yes.
I saw you do the action on the webcam. Ghostfacers. You'll know. So this is episode 13 in season 3. We're near the end and they decided to put this episode in.
Yeah, I mean, there's only one line towards the plot in this entire episode.
It's true. It's true, but fine.
Which we get to learn a little bit of timing, which is kind of interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I thought they were closer to the end than I thought. I mean, they're further from the end than I thought.
Yeah, that's true actually. We were thinking it was going to be like weeks now, but yeah. Right. And yeah, I loved this episode. I love it. I've always loved it. I think it was a great idea, and it's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, of course you love it because it's written by your boy.
My boy, Ben Edlund. This is inspired. I feel like there's a lot to talk about in this episode. But I was saying to Annabelle before we started recording, I think Ben Edlund has the gift of prophecy.
Yeah. Or he has the gift of, like, mass manipulation in some way. In that, like, you know, he could whisper in people's ears to plant ideas. This being one of... Because this episode, man. This episode is like... What?
Yeah, I mean, you could read this episode... like this, okay, what's strange is like this episode could have worked at any point in Supernatural, right? In any of the seasons, and it would have worked really well in season 15, I feel.
Yep.
For reasons. But it's just, I mean, they make actual reference to the writer's strike in this episode as well.
Yes.
And I guess maybe that's why this one's in here, which is quite funny. But I mean, just the whole idea of like the censoring of Sam and Dean and is this actually part of Chuck's canon? This whole episode.
That's a good question. I'm going to ponder it as we go through.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's wild. I love it. I think there's the big questions to be asked in this one. I think the actual meat of the episode, there's not a whole lot there.
Yeah, no, I mean for I guess we can kind of get into it a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, this I guess this is how good Ben Edlund actually is, to be able to write a reality show style episode and make it feel so genuine. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's obviously writing, directing, camera work, and everything. Like it. This episode actually made me jump quite a few times.
Yeah. Even
though I was expecting it, like, and the feel of it, because I've seen some of those stupid like ghost shows. Mm-hmm. One comes to mind. My old roommate from grad school. Heard about an episode that was going to be happening in San Francisco. Yeah. That was in a strip club. That was cinema turned strip club.
Yeah.
And so they went in there and like scared themselves and all that kind of stuff. And like it freaked me out watching those people get freaked out. And I had the exact same feeling in this episode.
It is really good. Like, yeah, I know the same ones you do. There's some British one they've done before. I can't remember the names of it, with that like blonde guy and the woman. I cannot think of his name to save my life. But he's like a medium and can like supposedly speak to the dead. And this other blonde woman is just like a ghost watcher or whatever. I mean, my friend worked at a museum, and they had quite a few ghost people visit them to do their various recordings or like just have a look around, and he has some fairly good stories that I won't repeat here because it might be too obvious where it was. But he has some great stories, and yeah, it felt like that. Like you could imagine Harry and Ed like wandering around a museum at night and making way more of it than's actually happening.
Well, so going kind of back to your point of like this episode could have been like in season 15. I think what makes this so good is that it's an audition tape, right?
Yeah.
So had it not been that, I feel like, because it would have gone straight to YouTube or like Supernatural equivalent of YouTube.
Yeah.
So I think had it not been that, I think like it wouldn't have had the same like effect.
Yeah, you're right, actually. I wish they'd kind of almost done a follow-up with them, because we never really find out what happens to Harry and Ed. Like, there's a little bit of them in season 4 and 5, I feel. Maybe like some stuff from like specials on the DVDs. There's definitely a special where they meet Cass. There's a short like thing. They did like a little YouTube bit through the show. But I would have liked to have seen what like happened to them. That would have been nice to be like check in with them and see like how are they explaining all the supernatural stuff that's happening. Exactly.
And like, you know, with the last sort of section of this episode, I know we're getting really far ahead and not really getting it, but with the last sort of the epilogue of this episode, like Sam and Dean even admit that they like the guys.
Exactly.
So you would think that like they would definitely interact with them again. Like, can you imagine what they would have been going through like in that last season when all the zombies came back?
Right. Yeah. It just would have been good. I don't know. I made, you know, it would have been a good throwback. They brought so many things back and made so many references. And the Ghostfacers are such beloved characters, I feel. Like, well known in the fandom. Like, people have t-shirts that say like Ghostfacers on and stuff. Everyone knows the action, the Ghostface action. Like, it would have been a good callback for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And like there was no reason to, unless like, here's the thing, had they called them back, one of the two would have died, surely.
Oh, they would have killed off either Harry or Ed, like.
Yeah. And I bet you would have been Harry, because Harry's like the nicer of the two. Kind of.
I don't know. They're both kind of questionable guys.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I guess we can get into it a little bit.
Yeah, let's do it.
So there's a montage, or you know, the teaser for the episode, montage of a whole bunch of monsters that they've killed throughout the season. And then there's a little bit of the demon deal discussion between Dean and the demon, and then we get a little bit about of how Hellhound, whichever one that was.
It is Hell House, because
it is Hell House.
Yeah, because their website was called something to do with hounds. I can't remember what it was.
But as the Supernatural title card appears, like these hands reach out, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah.
And like the whole thing kind of glitches and gets interfered with Harry and Ed sat in like wingback chairs in some ridiculous outfits. Like, what is going on?
It's very okay, I don't know if you ever watched this. Jonathan Frakes, who's better known as Commander Riker from Next Generation, he did a show called, what was it called? I want to say like Unexplained Mysteries or something like that. Mm-hmm. But that
sounds vaguely familiar.
Yeah, he used to be in like a dark like basement doing this stuff. It's kind of like that, mashed with like the narrator from the Rocky Horror Show.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. The only thing missing is like the, well, I guess they're in the basement version of this because the narrator is in like a library.
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's funny. I have to say, I do like that they're messing with the title card in this season.
Yes.
And I don't feel like they do that too much going forward. Like, they've done it twice in this one season. Mm-hmm. If not more. I don't know. I know they definitely do.
Yeah.
In other seasons, but I guess, again, being such a short season, it's more, like, noticeable.
Yeah, I think so, too. I wonder if this was an episode that they wanted to do anyway, even before the writer's strike, and still decided to keep it in. I know, again, they make reference to it here, but I mean, if this one was a product of the writer's strike, like, well, we're all glad it happened, but
yeah, definitely. So at the end of Hell House, they have been contacted by a producer and they're going to Hollywood, right? Turns out that Sam and Dean were the producers, and there was nothing.
Yeah.
They don't make reference to that in this episode.
They don't, but it looks like they've just moved back home. Like, they went to LA, because obviously they've been living in that trailer. So, all right, this is my backstory for Harry and Ed, right? Because they're quite young. I would guess in their early 20s, right? So they, like, struck out on their own and decided to go do this ghost, like, hunting stuff. So they bought a trailer together because they were, like, you know, roommates. And when they sold all of that, because I think they sold all of that basically to go to Hollywood with Sam and Dean, faked being producers, they kind of got there, realised there was nothing going to happen, and then had to move back home.
So that would mean they're coming up to that early 20s, like mid 20s now, because it was about 2 years since that happened.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. And because you know, Ed's sister's there. So why would she be there if they weren't all just like in their hometown?
Well, and there's that bit where the garage door opens, and I think it's Ed that's like, Dad.
Yeah, exactly. His parents' house. So it's you're right. Yeah, it totally works.
Yeah. So we get them introducing themselves, and like in terms of being sort of like an audition tape, they're not good actors. They're not good at hyping themselves up, because they say you must be some sort of big-wig network executive, sorry.
I am Harry Spangler.
And I am Ed Zedmore. Now, if you've received this tape, you must be some sort of big-wig network executive.
It's like, you wouldn't say that in your audition tape. You would just, like, either you would record the name of the person that you're trying to send this to. Like, it's like any interview. Like, you don't walk into an interview and be like, hey, you're in charge of here. I don't know who you are. Like, you learned about the company that you're supposed to be interviewing for. You're supposed to. Anyway, and he also assumes it's a mister.
Oh, yeah, that's true. He does assume that the network executive is a sir. Well, I mean, at this time, true.
Yeah, that's true.
Still now,
that's
probably.
very true. You wouldn't go to a network executive. You would go to a producer. Anyway.
I mean, yeah. I mean, this kind of shows exactly who they are. They haven't really changed from Hell House. They're still massively sort of over the top. They believe in themselves above and beyond
a little too much
what they should, and like they still think they're going to make it, and that they have something that's amazing and like groundbreaking, and no one else has done it. I mean, you know, talking about mentioning they're saying that they have a pilot for a reality TV show because of the writer's strike, who Harry calls lazy fat cats.
Yeah, when he said that, I was like, ooh. But the thing is, it kind of works with his character, like, because there were people who thought that the writers were lazy, for going on strike.
I mean, everyone always says that when people go on strike, but like it just fits in there with their characters also, that again they just think they're kind of better than everyone else. And they say, who needs writers when you've got guys like us? And they introduce themselves and say that they have this like footage that they've filmed. They say it's the scariest hour in the history of television, and then it kind of like they introduce Ghostfacers, and this is the first time we've heard Ghostfacers because they weren't called this before. So I don't know if Ben Edlund here is referencing this. It would be an obscure one for US audiences, but do you know Ghostwatch? Did you ever hear of it?
It does feel a little bit familiar, but I don't think because I don't like paranormal TV shows.
Watching Supernatural
or movies.
It's like War of the Worlds when they did War of the Worlds on the radio and people thought it was real. Yeah.
But so you're referencing in just a name, basically, not like context. Because obviously this is a different sort of situation.
I think so, yeah. It's quite a different... I don't know. I can see some of the references, like the way it's filmed and stuff with like shaky cameras as well, like handheld stuff. I feel like Ghostwatch was one of the first things to do that, because it's 92. I remember a lot in the early 2000s of people doing stuff like that, but I don't know. I feel like Ghostwatch was maybe the original, but someone proved me wrong on that.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Because now, obviously, you see it like all over YouTube and like, you know, there's all that kind of stuff. And like I said, the show that I watched with my roommate was in like 2013, maybe 14. Mm-hmm. So it was years after this. But it must have been around for... Actually, it may not have been around. But I mean, the idea of these kind of people... has been around forever. That's why like Hell House was an episode. It only makes sense that they would then try and get on TV because, and I do feel like again, correct me if I'm wrong, but I do feel like 2008, because of the writer's strike, was a big boom in reality TV.
Yeah, I think you're right. Actually, I feel like that's when it started to become more prevalent. I mean, Big Brother kind of started it, right? And I think that's earlier, maybe 2005. But yeah, I feel like there was a bit of a boom.
Mm-hmm. Like there were more genres of reality TV, like beyond just putting people in a house and watch them like disintegrate. Not disintegrate. Whatever the word is.
Disintegrate is quite a good word.
Just fall apart. It then became like I feel like the Real Housewives became a thing.
I was thinking of Real Housewives, yeah.
Like that. And the Kardashians maybe even started out that time as well.
I mean, generally, like when Supernatural started, like that year, there was just a big boom in like Supernatural TV shows. If you think of the ones that were out then, and again, like there were a lot of these ghost camera footage shows. I wish I could remember the name of the one that I'm thinking of with the woman. I think it'll come to me.
It'll probably be something stupid, just like Ghost Hunter, because that is one that is actually, I think that's actually one now. It's just called Ghost Hunter. So in America, there is one literally just called Ghost Hunter.
Yeah. It's not, this is a British one. So the one, I used to watch a ghost hunting show. Me and my mum used to watch it. And the reason we watched it, I think it was on after Charmed. This is giving you the time frame, right? On like Sky Living. It's called Most Haunted, and it's amazing. And I just literally just watched like the first 30 seconds of a trailer, and it already could have come from this episode. It's like the camera's looking down a tunnel, and it's all dark, and then the camera shifts diagonally, so it's at an angle. Because it's spookier at an angle. Like,
yeah. Did you know the Dutch tilt will get you every time?
Every time. So creepy. Anyway. I suppose we have to talk about
builds tension. To kind of bring it back on track, because we haven't even got past like the first like 2 minutes of this episode. We get to hear the amazing Ghostfacer theme tune.
It's amazing.
It is.
Standout lyrics.
Ghostfacers. We face the ghost that no one else. That's not the like tune, but that's the one that's coming to my mind.
I think you're right. I think it is that.
It's slightly different because if they did it exactly, they could get claimed. They change it ever so slightly because it's like. But anyway, yes, it's. Stay in the kitchen when the kitchen gets hot. Like, what is that?
I like we face the faces, we face the dead. What does that even mean? We face the faces.
I don't know.
It's beautiful. I love it so much. Oh, God.
When you trip and fall into the supernatural, we're who you're gonna call. We face it. We face them all.
I mean, you're probably
Oh,
right.
it's so silly.
Like, I think probably Ghostfacers is more of a play on Ghostbusters. It does make better sense. Especially with the theme tune. Okay. Mm-hmm. I love the music. So it must be said that all of this, basically nearly this whole episode is filmed on handheld footage cameras like the Blair Witch Project style.
Yes.
Or it's stuff that Ed and Harry have produced. So...
Yeah, and there's obviously a noticeable shift of quality. Mm-hmm. And I do wonder how, I was going to say, I wonder how genuine it is, but they would have filmed it on proper cameras and just downgraded it. There's no way they could have had it straight out of like a handheld, especially in 2008. No. You could now. You couldn't back then. So it's got like I don't even know how to describe it to someone who, like, we recognize the style because we kind of grew up with that kind of home video. It's home video.
Because we're old.
Because we're old. So you with your mum watched this kind of shows.
Yeah.
Me with my parents, we watched like funny home videos where people fall down.
Yes,
that's
been framed.
Kind of stuff. Yes, You've Been Framed, all of that kind of stuff, which is exactly like this, again, home video style where it's like, it's not really grain, but it's kind of grain. It's just very, very low quality.
Yeah.
And they sort of add in the and it's poorly edited as well. Like they're sort of like, okay, let's go to the next thing, and like forget to like cut them saying that out and stuff like that. It's very, very, very amateurish. And like this whole next sequence of it's like the next day, and they have like a voiceover, and because they don't have a slow-mo camera, Ed and Harry are like acting as if they're in slow-mo. With like Western music over it. Yeah. And it was at that point that I was like, oh yeah, Sam and Dean are basically wanting to be cowboys. This whole show is just them being cowboys.
It totally is. We had this discussion, like Eric Kripke said, this is a modern Western. Yeah.
So it's just like blatantly obvious because they put that over it. I mean, it's not exactly that, but it's very much in that style of the spaghetti Western. And they're talking about how they have like a day job and they're like nighttime missions. I don't know what Kinko's is. I guess it's probably like a grocery shop.
I have no idea.
Or supermarket.
Yeah.
Like they're just, talking about their day-to-day. It sounds like Ed is the only one that works and Harry is like researching in quotation marks during the day. Like he's kind of a bit of a mooch.
Yeah. It does say they both work at the Kinko's.
Oh, it does?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, where we work. Yeah, I see. Yeah. Never mind. Yeah.
I think what's really interesting is like when we first met Ed and Harry in Hell House, I don't think we really saw them as like Sam and Dean. They were like an amateur version of hunters, but they weren't necessarily Sam and Dean. And I feel like in this episode they were trying to almost, I don't know, there were some parallels between them that maybe weren't there in Hell House.
Well, I guess because they hunted together, they're like, oh, we can be like these guys.
I don't know, but I don't think they like Sam and Dean that much. I don't know if they would idolize them in that way at all, to try and be like them in any way.
Yeah, that's true.
It was just sort of like general, like there was just a few little things. I don't know what it was, but my overall impression was they were trying to make Ed, I always get Ed and Harry confused. They were always trying to make Ed more of the Dean character in their partnership and Harry more of the Sam character in their partnership.
Yeah, no, I agree with you on that one.
And that line here is so funny. It says they're like two lone wolves.
Just Harry and me.
Two lone wolves.
And two lone wolves need, other wolves.
And they go, two lone wolves who need other wolves. And that's kind of true for Sam and Dean too, right? They're two lone wolves. But they work better when they have help.
Yeah. Meaning, you know, lone wolves don't work and are not a thing.
Exactly.
A lone wolf gets turned into a fucking chihuahua, let's be real. That's what a lone wolf turns into.
So we have a kind of a weird title card that says Phase 1, the homework. And what's funny is it kind of does, these phases kind of do follow like a supernatural episode almost. Mm-hmm. So it's like, oh, they're doing the research. In this case, it's the homework. And we see their kind of like office, which is clearly, I thought it was a basement to start with, but it's actually a garage. And we've already been introduced to everyone because in the title card, like in the theme tune, they had listed everyone who's in this like episode of Ghostfacers. Mm-hmm. So there's Ed and Harry, there's Maggie as well, there's Corbett, there's Spruce, and then they do put Sam and Dean in there as well with like the worst pictures of them ever.
I guess because they didn't lose that footage from Hell House, so they still have that.
Oh yeah, is it them from Hell House? I thought. Oh
no, it's not. It's from this episode. Yeah, you're right. Of course, because it's been edited.
So, you know, they go and they talk to everyone and say good morning, even though it's 7 p.m. We don't really see Spruce a lot. Like he's behind the camera most of this episode. We see like vague sort of bits of him.
Like he'll turn the camera on his face like a couple times, or like that's it.
Yeah, exactly, like real close up. And you know, they kind of do little segments with each of them to kind of ask why they're there. So they start with like why Corbett's there really, and he says that he saw Ed putting up flyers down at the mall, and he thought to himself, where do ghosts come from?
I first saw Ed putting up flyers down at the outlet mall in Skogan. So I read one, and I thought to myself, where do ghosts come from?
This is very classic, like reality TV. Like every reality show has this, where they take aside the character and talk about what's happening.
Yeah, like a confessional.
Yes,
it's not though. Yeah, I know what you mean. And we get introduced to Maggie, who is Ed's adoptive sister. He makes a point of that. And she tells them that Ed and Harry actually met at computer camp. Which, yeah.
Love at first geek. Love that line.
We meet Spruce, who's on a driving range, just like getting hit with golf balls like continuously while he's talking. And he says he's 15/16 Jewish and 1/16 Cherokee, and he goes into like all of his like family history and stuff. This is such an American thing to do.
Yeah, like I'm fairly certain I've met people like him, and like they're very off-putting. Because you know he's saying it in such a way that's like, you have to listen to me because I am this.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I'm just like, No.
Yeah, it's a weird, like, trying to, like, claim a heritage, like, maybe it's like, what is this? I don't know. It's like, it just reminds me of, like, every American is Irish, like that basically.
Yes. Yeah, basically is what that comes down to.
So yeah, they go back into the office and they're kind of talking about what they're going to be doing, and they're looking at the Morton house. And the lore is that every 4 years it becomes the most haunted place in America. So the ghosts return at midnight as February the 29th appears, so on a leap year, and basically no one's ever stayed the night. I guess because they think it's like the most haunted place ever. During all this, Corbett brings Ed like coffee. And there's this whole little like cute thing of like, you said you liked it once, so I bought you some. It's nice.
Absolutely true.
That's good.
French vanilla. The other day, you said how much you liked it. So,
Thank you.
you are welcome.
You know, they cut to Harry in the driver's seat of his car, and he's talking about Corbett. And he's like, hey, he's really good. Like, he works really hard, but he definitely is in love with Ed, basically.
Yeah.
And he says that could spell trouble for the whole team. And that is extremely hypocritical. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Just planting the seed for this episode. So we're back in their office, and it's to Corbett, and he's basically saying that he's in love with him. He says, you know, Ed is kind of more rugged, has that really golden, beautiful sort of beard, definitely nice. And Harry's nice. Is obviously like he's very focused on Ed. And then we're back to like. It's very weird how they kind of, it's all over the place.
It's so poorly edited, as you said.
Yeah. It's Corbett, and then we're to Ed, and he's like in the front of the house, like front of the office kind of area. And he's at the whiteboard. There's a whiteboard with pictures and stuff. And he says, February 29th is, 29th is this Friday, Facers. We want this mission. And basically, you know, if we don't get there, he's going to be gone for another 4 years. And then suddenly we hear this loud noise, and I was like, and the whiteboard comes off the thing. I was like, oh no, is it some kind of ghost thing? No, it's just a garage door thing. Garage door thing.
What's
Dad, come on!
Let's just cut the cameras. We don't need that. We don't need this part. We don't.
It's Ed's dad. He's just opened it. Ed's dad looks thoroughly confused as to why like this is going on.
Yeah.
And I wonder if it was like because it looked like everything was kind of pretty much established in the room, or was it put in there and like not thinking the dad would come home and was like, we need to clear this up before my dad gets home, guys, kind of thing.
I think possibly that of like, oh, we need to clear it up before he gets home. Or like maybe they told their dad to like park outside the garage, but he just like forgot that they had all that stuff in there and was like, oh, sorry.
And again, with the poorly edited, like Harry says, cut the cameras, just cut the cameras. We don't need that. Don't put this part in.
It's so good. Like, I don't know. It's just establishing how amateurish they actually are, and they don't seem to learn anything at all from their previous experience, which was like over a year ago. So between then and now, they must have been doing some kind of ghost hunting. I
mean, they have a lot of equipment. Like, you know, we see that in this next phase, which is infiltration. And they're outside, like the house is being fenced off, and you know they're trying to give orders like stay low, follow formation, all this stuff, and they start to hear a noise like a kind of music, and then a car, and as the Impala drives by, like they go hide in some bushes, and the Impala drives by, and we hear I don't know what we're an American band.
Not cops, just eggs. Not cops.
I don't know, that's like it's just rock music. Like
Yes.
I knew it was the Impala from the moment I heard the first rumble. I was like, yeah, Impala.
I do like the use of, like, this is the only obvious outside editing that's done in this, in that, like, it kind of drew me out of their, like, amateurish, because the music comes in so loud. It is, but it's very well done, but it's like, oh yeah, that's a technical thing. Again, can't remember the name of it. But when you, like, when music appears, like, say it's like playing in someone's headphones, and then you hear it as the audience, and then they take the headphones off and the music stops or like fades out.
Oh, see, I read it different from the music, because I thought basically Dean was playing his music so loud you would hear it from like a street away. Because they've got their windows down. Like, because you see them, Sam's got his window wound down, and it sounds like a flashlight. And it's like clearly just... And I think this is the... I remember Kripke saying this is for the kind of vision they wanted of Sam and Dean, is like, if you were stopped at some traffic lights and then this like massive like black car rolled up with like Led Zeppelin blaring out and just sort of like just ominous looking, which is it's kind of what they're managing to do here for like the first time. We never really see them roll up anywhere with really loud music.
That's true.
It is always lessened enough so you can hear them speak. Okay, I'm gonna start my meta here. Because I think this is the first example of it when we first see Sam and Dean. It's because what we see at Sam and Dean in Supernatural is very carefully edited by people who make the show. Now, in later seasons, we get introduced to Chuck, and he is very much equated to the writers and the editors and the producers of the show. Like, he is making Supernatural. So it would make sense that whenever they roll up, you know, their music is just conveniently quiet enough that they can be heard to make a TV show. Right. Whereas this is completely outside of any of Chuck's influence. I fully believe that Ghostfacers is the one time we see Sam and Dean unedited. And I think them driving up with their music absolutely blaring, like they definitely have to shout at each other to be heard, is the first example of that. Because if they were actually shooting a scene of them in the car and talking, it could not be that loud. Yeah. So the canon is that if he wasn't edited all the time, Dean would have permanent hearing loss from how loud he has his music in the
I love that. I love that a lot.
And there are other examples in this, because I'll talk about it more at the end. But
okay.
Yeah, this is them without Chuck. This is how it would be. Mostly. I mean, apart from the luck stuff.
To kind of go off of that, this is what everyday people, like, we're getting, said, an unfiltered view of what Chuck has designed.
Yes, absolutely.
They realize it's not the cops, so they go ahead and just break through the fence and start to set up inside. So this is what I'm saying, that like they have a lot of camera equipment, because each of them take a camera and put it. They have like cameras on their heads, like I guess like little. You can't really see the size of the camera that they have, but they all have like headbands and a light. Yeah. They all each have handheld. Not everybody, but I think 3 of them. Corbett, Maggie, and Spruce all have handheld. Yeah. And then they have ones that they've set, like 4 or 5 that they set up around the house. That's probably what they've been doing, is like just gathering equipment and like spending money on all of that.
I mean, if you're living at your parents' house and they're not charging you rent.
That's true. And you are working. You can afford all of this stuff. And they decide that, like, I guess the living room is their base of operation, Command Center 1, but they call it the Eagle's Nest. Of course. And it's like a little bit of a montage of them setting up all the cameras and saying, like, you know, camera 1 ready, can you see me, blah blah blah. Like I said, just setting up the cameras. I don't know why they single out Corbett. I mean, yeah, and he's kind of like, he went all in. He's got camo on and everything.
Yeah, I think that's it. He looks kind of like G.I. Joe.
Yeah. And then, you know, gather back into the living room. Their setup's complete. So they're like, all right, everybody bring it in. And on the count of 3, Ghostfacers. And 1, 2, 3, Ghostfacer. Ghostfacer.
1, 2, 3, Ghostfacers!
We're not really sure what the time was when they got there. Oh, so it says base camp 10:40.
Yeah.
And about 11 minutes later, so now it's phase 3, FaceTime.
Yeah.
Which I think is funny. Like, FaceTime means something completely different now.
I know, right? That's so funny.
I guess then their name kind of makes... I feel the name is confusing. Had they not mashed it together? Because they're facing ghosts, right?
Right.
So that's why they're Ghostfacers. But like when you have it in one word... I guess they saw Ghostbusters and were like, oh yeah, let's... Because, they bust ghosts.
Yeah. So they're going to
not two separate
ghosts. Fine.
So they split up into 2 teams, Ed and Corbett, and then Harry, Spruce, and Maggie. Because it has to be odd numbers because odd numbers look better. Like it has to be 5 people, not 6. They're asking questions and looking at like their EMF reader and getting readings. Very much like, so this is what I'm saying. Like this is it's all shaky cam and like cutting between different viewpoints. This is very much like Ghost Hunters that I watched forever ago, and like all of the stuff that comes out now. It's them hyping themselves up, which gets me like...
It is, and that's what all those ghost hunting shows are, though. It's them psyching each other out, like, did you hear that? And then everyone goes, did I hear that? Oh, yeah, maybe I heard that. Like, do you know what I mean? It's all like, I don't know. I would probably be drawn in as well if I was somewhere like that with that hyped atmosphere. It's like a haunted house, right? It's not real. Like, it's not real when you go to a haunted house. And
yeah. Corbett starts to feel faint because he's like not breathing properly.
Yeah.
Harry and Ed have encountered something that's supernatural before, but like they didn't help in any way.
No, they didn't. I can imagine they fully trade off of that experience as well, and they have not had any experience since.
Yep.
But they can 100%, that is the thing they tell everyone, they show everyone the stuff they have on it, all that kind of stuff. So they have to act, they're like big tough guys here because they're like, we're the ones with experience in this.
Yeah.
Yeah. We just talk about how Ed calling Corbett buddy is just a moment. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can hear another character call someone buddy without some very slight romantic undertones.
Which almost come to fruition, right?
Aww.
So then we're with team 2 and they're on the 2nd floor, and I love this. Like, again, playing off of the idea that they're trying to act like Sam and Dean. Harry is trying to kick the door down, but like he's only sort of gently placing his foot, and Spruce is like, why don't you just turn the handle? So he turns the handle, then kicks it open. And Harry gets all scared and is like, oh my god, and it's just a rat. And I think it's gross that Spruce picks it up and throws it.
Oh no, why would you
with your bare hands, like, don't touch dead animals with your bare hands. You don't know what's on it.
This is why
leave it alone.
I kick open doors personally. I don't feel
What? Like every day you just kick open a door?
Absolutely I do. But this is fully okay, no, this is fully true. Like I work in a building where they have a lot of push doors. I don't know whether it's because of COVID or what. I don't like touching the door handles anymore. So I have fully perfected just kicking a door. Not like aggressively, but like, you put your foot against it and you push it open and you walk through. I used to work at the school too, because sometimes if you push the door, this had happened to my colleague, if you push the door open, the kid was on the other side that you couldn't see, and they'd like push the door back, you'd get your hands trapped. So I used to kick open every door that I went through. Not like boom, but like,
I get that, but like but this is definitely like him trying to kick down the door like Dean.
He is trying to kick down the door, yeah, but I also would not have touched that handle.
Yeah, no.
I have an aversion to door handles. Look, COVID made me weird. Yeah, the rat is disgusting. I know. It's huge as well, that rat. Like, cat-sized. Corbett and Ed are like walking around when suddenly they see like flashlights and the people shouting at them, "It's the police! Show us your ID!" Like, show us your ID. And like, I knew it was Dean immediately because I recognized his voice like that.
Yes.
Freeze! Police officers, don't move!
As they're asking him for ID, Ed's like, wait, who are you?
Yeah.
It takes him a really long time. I guess because it's quite dark. You can't see because their camera kind of had like a night vision-y thing on. But it would have taken a long time with the flashlights to realise what these two guys look like. Ed is like, I know you. I know both of you guys. And this is where like Sam and Dean start swearing. And again, like unfiltered, because it's Sam that starts. He says, like, I swear he says holy shit, right? It's holy shit.
I think so, yeah.
Holy what? West Texas, the tulpa we had to take out, those two goofballs that almost got us killed, the hellhounds or something.
And Dean says, what? It's like, Sam's like, West Texas, the tulpa, these two goofballs almost got us killed, the hellhounds or something.
Their website was called thehellhounds.com or something like that.
Oh, okay.
That's why it was so confusing, because it was called Hell House.
And then Dean says, like, fuck me.
Yeah. And so, okay.
Yeah, we're not hellhounds anymore. Okay, didn't test that well.
What's going on?
I think they're actually cursing as they act.
I think so too.
This.
Yes, I do. Because you can definitely hear the beginning of fuck when Dean says fuck me.
And so when they bleep it out, they also put like a little Ghostfacer, like their logo over their mouths.
Yeah.
But like you can still, okay, this is weird, but you can still see their throat move.
You can see the action of them talking, yes. I mean,
yes.
You would, because it would look more natural. It would look weird if you automatically censored yourself. Sorry.
Maybe they said like duck or something, or like another word. But I do think they had a field day filming this episode.
I hope they had fun doing this one, to be honest. I feel like they should.
I wish we got more.
Yeah.
More like outtakes of like them actually, because there isn't that many in this. And I feel like they would have been more. Like, I'm surprised that the Ghostfacers, they're the ones who don't swear in this.
Yeah.
And it's Sam and Dean that do.
Yeah. Because Ed and Harry are making a TV show. They know they won't be able to sell it to network
right.
executives if they have a load of swearing in it. That's why they bother censoring Sam and Dean. Because they're the ones censoring them in this, not Chuck.
They're censoring themselves. Like we do, but not anymore.
Not anymore.
Well, this episode.
Yeah, Ed says they're not hellhounds anymore. It didn't test that well. Like, who did they test this with? What focus group did they have?
It was their sister.
It probably was their sister, yeah, you're right. I wonder if that's any reference to, like, anything else that the show has tested and it's not worked out well. Like, I wonder what reference you're making there, Ben Edlund.
It's probably Bella, right?
Oh, unfortunately, yeah, Bella didn't get very good fan reception at all, I don't feel. Until her kind of final episode, which is a shame, really.
Which is, like, coming up.
Yeah, it's coming up. Dean says, like, there was another guy with you, where is he? Ed says running around chasing ghosts. Like, that doesn't sound really bad, like stupid. And Dean says, like, you have to go. They're all trying to, like, get them to leave. But Ed says, like, listen here, Chisel Chest.
Listen here, Chisel Chest, okay? We were here first.
Okay, Ed.
Ed is on the spectrum, right? He is not straight, right?
Ed is not straight. No. Ed is in denial about his feelings.
Yes.
But he's not straight. Not a chance. He just called Dean Chisel Chest. That is not a normal hetero thing to say to another man.
No, not at all. Not at all. Like, no.
I love that he pokes him in the chest when he says it too. Just confirming.
And no offense to Jensen in this, but at this point in the show, I feel like it's actually Sam who has his chisel chest.
Yeah, Sam is definitely more like pumped of the two.
Yeah, the more swole of the two. Like now, not anymore. Well, maybe not. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
They're probably about the same, just because, you know, gentlemen has to become superheroes.
But they basically have this argument about who was there first, and Dean to Sam is really sarcastic, like, well, they were here first, so I guess we can't do anything. And Dean asks again, like, he grabs Ed and is like, where's your partner?
Okay, why was that so hot though?
I didn't clock it. What?
Rewatch that, and because he grabs Ed and like puts him against the wall and is like, where's your partner? Like, why is that so hot though?
I knew we were swearing on this episode. I didn't realise we were getting like down and dirty, like, ooh, okay. I know, I will rewatch that. something, slamming people against walls, something.
Something. I think it's the look in his face. It's the fear in Ed's eyes. It's all just, I'm just kidding.
It's all just too much, man.
Anyway.
We cut to Harry and Maggie and Spruce, and they walk around this room, and their camera keeps glitching out, and eventually we see a man. I thought he was from like the 40s, but it wouldn't really work with what's actually happening in this episode, I don't think. So I think the actual ghost is from the 60s, but whatever. We see a guy in an old style suit, and they basically watch his death. So he's like, guys, you know, like, I'm sorry, I don't have all the money, etc., and gets shot. And as he gets shot, he disappears.
He's very much like, if you imagine 50s mobster, that's what it reminds me of.
Yeah, definitely, same.
I love how like they incorporated ad breaks in their own pilot, because it says Ghostfacers with the logo, and then it cuts to an ad break.
You're right, it's so good.
You wouldn't think about doing that in a pilot, but they do.
They still thought about it. They thought, well, you know, we have to make it marketable, so we need to put ad breaks into it.
Yeah. They did a Raid Shadow Legends read. Or NordVPN.
Yeah, something. We're back. Everyone's in the living room, pretty much. Dean, Sam, Ed, and Corbett are all there. And Dean's asking them what on earth they're doing there on a leap year. And they say, well, you know, we're here to spend the night. And Sam's just like, you're idiots, basically. And they talk about how no one's ever stayed the night before. And Sam basically gets all these missing persons reports. And it's like, yeah, because they're all dead. Yeah. As he's showing them this, like, Ed's like, oh, these look real. And he's like, it's because they are. Like, why would I bring fake missing persons reports? And Sam says ominously, starting at midnight, all your friends are gonna die. Dun, dun, dun. Dun, dun. So Harry runs in and says, like, we got one. And they show them the footage of the ghosts that they saw. And Harry, when he sees Sam and Dean, says, hey, aren't those the... I don't know what he calls them here. What do you think? Motherfuckers from Texas? The bitches from Texas?
I would say the fucks. the fucks from Texas.
Yeah. It's quite short.
I don't know.
And Dean's
assholes?
Like, oh yeah, assholes works well. Yeah, it works well. You're right, actually. Dean tries to get them to leave. He says, let's go get ice cream. And they kind of look at all the footage on this laptop and say it was a really high reading on the EMF, and Sam and Dean watch it with them and then kind of walk away from the group. But Spruce records them and they put like little subtitles up so you know what they're saying. They're like whispering in the corner.
So again, this is proving my point of when you walk away just like a few feet, you can still be heard.
But they don't know that because it always works for them normally.
Yeah.
Because TV logic. They talk about how it's a death echo, not a... What is a ghost, but a death echo. And Sam says, we got a problem, but that ghost ain't it. What I find really funny as well is I think Sam's more... He's almost more slangy in this. Mm-hmm. Like, than he normally speaks as well. Like, Sam speaks differently in this episode.
He does, yeah. His attitude is a bit different too. Like, Dean...
It's pretty much the same.
You're right. Like, I think it's funny that it's Sam who's the one who sort of introduces a bit of like curse or swearing.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have guessed that. I would have guessed it would have been Dean.
Same, yeah, but it's like they're both as bad as each other, actually. Like, it's, you know.
So Sam puts on a front.
Sam, I mean, Sam doesn't know he's putting on a front, though. It's Chuck's influence. So Spruce obviously overhears them ask what a death echo is, and Dean explains that echoes are trapped in a loop and they replay their death over and over again, usually in the place they were ganked. But he says it's not dangerous. It's about as dangerous as a scary movie. And Sam says, so it's not that, but it's probably something else. Dean agrees and says, let's go. Come on. He's constantly trying to get them to leave this house. You know, they don't want to leave with their equipment and stuff, and basically massively procrastinating to the point that they won't be able to leave. But what makes that impossible is that they can't find Corbett.
He did the stupid thing and decided to go back up to the second floor to, I guess, see the ghost himself?
I think so, yeah. It must be it. They did this stupid thing when they first arrived because they split up into two groups then. What's interesting is like once Sam and Dean arrived, they're immediately trying to like get everyone together into one big group because they know you shouldn't split up in a haunted house, although they do it themselves all the time.
Yeah, but they're Sam and Dean. What I don't get though is their first plan of action is to get everybody out. Shouldn't their second one be like, all right, so these guys aren't leaving, let's make a salt circle?
Yeah, you would have think there would have been a better progression into like, let's protect these people kind of thing.
I mean, I guess this is, you know, they get kind of distracted because Corbett is now, you know, gone away. And Ed is like, no man left behind. They hear like a scream in the background. As Corbett's looking around, his camera equipment starts going out and lights go out. And he turns the night vision on and is like facing him. And a ghostly figure appears behind him, which was one of the first jump scares. I was just like, God damn it. This show does not scare me, but this kind of show does. And I'm like, I know it's all fake. It's even faker than fake. Like, it's a made up one, and I'm still getting on edge. I hate it. Anyway, you know, I'm just sharing my vulnerability. Be nice to me. And so that's when they cut back to the living room, and like crazy people that they are, all of the group just run upstairs. Yeah. So I feel like Sam and Dean are like herding cats, basically, with this.
Yeah.
Again, Sam's like, guys, what do you think he says here when they bleep him out? Maybe shit. I think shit.
Yeah, I think maybe that's his go-to. I don't know. Like, I can always imagine him just saying, like, for fuck's sake. But maybe that's quite a British thing to say. Yeah.
In the show, in Supernatural in general, they say damn and bitch and stuff like that. So I don't think they're going to be bleeping any of that out.
I think yours is right. I think you're right.
Everybody's shouting into the room. Different things. They can hear Corbett screaming. Dean's trying to, you know, corral everybody, but then Corbett screams like fade, and it comes up on screen and it says Morton House, 11:59 p.m. and then Morton House, 12 a.m. Yeah. So I guess they were there Thursday, and now we're Friday. If
you ever played Betrayal on the House on the Hill, the haunt has begun. Yeah. That's what I'm going to make. That's a reference only a few people are going to get. Very true. So there's like loads of confusion, and they're all sort of like wandering around. You're right, it's exactly like herding cats. And as they get back to the living room, it now says that it's 12:04. You know, Ed's kind of like, what's happening? He's just gone, he's just disappeared. And Harry wants to go through all the angles and like, let's see what we've got. That's why I think they're more like Ed is Dean and Harry is Sam, because Ed's just kind of like panicking, like, what do? We need to do something. And Harry's like, no, let's go through the evidence and see what we got. Sam turns to Dean and says, it's 12:04, you good? You happy? And Dean's like, yeah, I'm happy. And Sam's just like, so bitchy. It's like, let's go hunt the Morton house. You said it's our Grand Canyon.
Well, it's 12:04, Dean. You good? You happy? Yeah, I am happy. Let's go hunt the Morton house. You said it's our Grand Canyon. Sam, I don't want to hear it.
Which is so funny because he, like, in season 2, he wanted to go to the actual Grand Canyon. I know. And that's not the case anymore.
So is this what they're doing then? So they have so much time left, you know, because Dean says here, like, I don't want to hear this. And Sam says, you've got 2 months left, Dean. Instead, we're going to die tonight.
I love the fact he picks up a chair and just throws it at the door.
I know, right? Just like in frustration. Like, so we find out here that like Dean has 2 months left.
You got 2 months left, Dean. Instead, we're going to die tonight.
Whoa! I can't believe this is what he's doing with his time. Like, he has his, like, supernatural checklist of, like, all the things he wanted to go hunt. And they're, checking them off? And this was one of them?
I guess so. I mean, that's got to be the case, right?
I think it is, yeah. Rather than doing, you know, fun stuff. He's like,
I mean...
let's go hunt a chupacabra. Like...
It just so happens that it's a leap year.
Yeah.
Had it not been a leap year, I guess I would have gone somewhere else, but... Yeah.
I mean, yeah, that's true, but, like, I can't believe they're doing this rather than going to the actual Grand Canyon. Like, clearly he does have a list of, like, famous haunted places that they want to go solve. Like, think how psyched Sam was when they, like, went to H.H. Holmes's thing. Like, he has his own list, I think, of cool things that they could hunt.
To bring it down,
of course,
really far down. Do you think he's trying to build up his, like, universe points by hunting all of these so that when he goes to hell, like, it takes longer for him to turn into a demon?
Oh man, maybe. I don't know if Dean's ever seen hunting as, like, karmic like that, though.
Yeah, no.
As in that it, like, gives him, like, good... Because he doesn't believe in heaven, so...
It's true.
What kind of karma is he accumulating? But yeah, you're right. Maybe he's looking for things to, like, cling on to, you know, help his humanity in hell. Whoa.
I mean, they obviously... I'm guessing this Morton house is probably in John's journal. Like, most of the things that come on a schedule, like the scarecrow situation, I'm sure they're aware of things that are rare occurring. Mm-hmm. And since this is one that's a very specific year and a very specific month and a very specific day, they have such a small window. So I wonder if, like, it maybe pinged in his brain, like, oh, this is, you know, what we got to do, and this is the only way I can get Sam to do it.
I mean, yeah, possibly. Like, oh yeah, it comes up, he's like, oh, the Morton house, dude, like, I have a chance, you know, to do this one before I go. Yeah, I can see that conversation happening.
Yeah, because, you know, at this point, Sam's going to be so obsessed with the demon deal and trying to break it that the idea of doing a regular hunt probably doesn't seem like a good idea.
But they have to find an excuse to be doing a regular hunt at this point, because you're right, it's so close to, like, crunch time. It's the same with anything. There's a few like this where they're getting to the season finale and it's like, oh, we just need to fill this episode in, but why would they be doing a regular hunt when, I don't know, the moon's about to crash into the world? Like,
Baba Yaga.
Oh, Baba Yaga, don't talk about Baba Yaga. You know, Sam explains to them all that every door, every window is supernaturally locked. Dean calls it a supernatural lockdown, which I felt we have been in for the past 2 years, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't think I could ever hear the word lockdown and, like, not think of this period of my life.
It's weird because I think in the future, like, all this stuff with lockdown and COVID is going to be, like, intrinsically linked to supernatural in my memories.
Yeah, probably, yeah.
Super weird, right? And Dean says, whatever took Corbett doesn't want us to leave. It's not a death echo. This is a bad mother and it wants us scared. And Maggie kind of looks quite scared and says, or it just wants us. And we see Harry and Maggie, like, secretly holding hands, like, ooh. There's loads of supernatural stuff going on. The camera's fritzing, the EMF spiking. Sam tells everyone to stay close. And another apparition appears. It's like an older guy in, like, a sweatshirt. It's super weird how, like, Dean immediately, like, start yelling at him. It's funny because it looks like someone doing a job. Mm-hmm. I can't quite explain it. Like, he knows what he's doing. You know, like, he's telling him to wake up because he's dead. And
Okay, all right. Hey, buddy! Hey, wake up! You're dead!
It looks very clinical, I think, and him trying to wake this guy up. Sam explains that with death echoes, it's very rare, but you can shock people out of this loop if you can talk to the part of the ghost that's still human. But usually for it to work, they have to have some kind of connection to the dead person, which is, it's like, this is an important point you will need to later
remember this.
It doesn't work, basically, and the apparition, he looks like it gets hit by it is a train because it makes a train noise, and sort of, like, disappears again.
Quite visceral, really, actually. Like, gets kind of blown back and disappears. I'm like, ooh. So it is kind of interesting that, you know, we have these two different deaths that are appearing, and, like, this train really doesn't make sense to be happening inside a house. You know, they've gone up to like the second floor again, and they're in an office type area of this house, and they're trying to find, so that they're like, well, none except these mooks didn't live or die here. They're using terms that like nobody uses.
It's so old. Like, I don't know. It's something very early 2000s about the language, like ganking and mooks and all this kind of stuff. They're going through, they're kind of discussing why this is weird, because no one possibly could get hit by a train here. As they go through the house, there's all these like weird shots of stuff on the walls to make it creepier. Like... like the deer head and the like taxidermy animals and the filing cabinets and all this kind of stuff. Sam finds a certificate that says Freeman Daggett was the last person to own the house, and he had worked at the General Hospital for 20 years and was a janitor. It says he died in 1964 of a heart attack. Alongside all of this, they find like survival gear. So it's all like canned food. There's a pamphlet about surviving an atomic attack. So clearly this guy was like a doomsday prepper. Dean manages to like pry the safe open that's in the room, and he finds like taxidermy books and like toe tags, and he finds 3. It says the 2 of them they've encountered, so the death by gunshots and the train accident. And like Dean goes, ew, and Sam goes like, ew, and it's so funny because you never hear them make that noise.
Ew. Ew.
Yeah, like they're never grossed out.
And like Sam's face is so good in this. I will say in this episode, I think it's because of the lighting and the cameras that they're using, but both Sam and Dean look really young in this episode. Like they look their ages of like not quite 30. I mean, Sam's even younger. He's like mid-20s. They look really young. So for them to stand there being like, ew. Because I think Sam is probably the same age as the Ghostfacers, right?
Yeah, probably very close to.
So they explain why they're saying ew. And Sam says, it explains why the Death Echoes are here. They're here because their bodies are here in the house. And Dean goes, yeah, he brought the remains home from the morgue to play. And Harry and Ed both go, ew. I mean, it is ew.
Ew.
That's nasty, dude.
That's a huge assumption, though. Because the first time I heard this, I remember this episode.
Yeah.
When he says to play, I was like, oh, so he's a janitor. Maybe his aspirations of wanting to be a doctor. So maybe he played in that way, and taxidermy. So maybe it was like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I feel like the implication is that he played.
It's more disgusting than that. I mean, I think the taxidermy is a clue here, right? Because that does turn out to be what's happened, kind of thing. I guess it's just the idea of bringing bodies to your house generally. Also, Dean, his mind goes weird places.
But why would Sam say ew?
It's just, I guess the idea of just bringing bodies back.
Yeah, I guess so.
Nasty, man.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it is.
So we see, like, Maggie's kind of gone off a little bit. She's looking for Corbett. She manages to scare herself with a mirror, which is a really good horror movie shot.
Yeah.
And then she swings around and Dean's, like, right there.
He's just closer to the herd.
Closer to the herd of cats.
Yeah.
Harry was looking for her. Dean kind of ushers her back. And Ed is kind of noticing something happening on his EMF reader. Something big. This kind of like flashing happens and the camera fuzzes and stuff, and you kind of see Sam there 1 minute and then he's just gone. He literally just disappears. Dean looks around, he finds Sam's flashlight on the ground, and of course it's like, Sam! Sammy! Sammy!
The very classic.
If I ever get a dog, I'm gonna call it Sam, just so I can be out on the field like, Sam! Sammy!
Yes.
Oh god.
Because you can't have Dean because that's just too sad.
It's too sad. I'd be breaking down and feel like, why Dean? Why would you return to the ball to me?
And I feel like Cass is too sad too.
I feel like I could call it Cat Cass because it's just always around, just looking at you, staring into your soul. So we come back and Dean is still shouting, and Ed is shouting for Corbett and Sam, and they're all shouting for each other, and it's all crazy. And we see Maggie's really scared, and Harry's like, it's gonna be okay. Very like end of the world style, like, oh yeah, it's gonna be okay. They kiss, but like Spruce is filming them because he's a creep, I guess.
There's a bit later on in this too. It wouldn't make sense if we could see that happen without someone recording it.
Exactly, right? Yeah, for sure.
But what makes it creepier is that it says bow chicka wow wow.
That's what everyone's always saying. Of course, Ed finds them. He's like, my best friend and my best sister.
My best friend and my best sister.
Like, does he have more than one?
Maybe he does have more than one sister. They kind of get into like a fight because he asks if he's banging his sister, and they look at each other like, no, and I really don't think they are. I think this is like quite a new thing. Mm-hmm. Ed says...
He turns to... Yeah. He turns to Spruce and like, hold my glasses. What I love about this fight is that it's clearly two guys who've never fought in their lives, and they're like, like, basically body rubbing against each other and like flailing their arms.
Getting real close and like sort of like, no, just sort of slapping each other. Oh, it's great. It's great. Dean breaks up. There was no need for him to break up that fight. They would have got tired.
Yes, very quickly.
Very quickly. And he says, what the fuck are you doing? Cut it out. We're down by 2 people. And then starts shouting for Sam immediately again. Mm-hmm. Ed kind of evaluates himself after the fight and asks if his tooth got knocked out, but he's fine. Oh, this is the creepiest bit of this episode. I don't like it. Like the, it's my party and I'm forward.
I hate that song in general. So we get kind of 2 angles of this. We have Corbett, who's got this head cam, and then his handheld one, which is pointing back at him. Mm-hmm. So we can see that Corbett's got like damage on his face where he's been hit over the head by something. Sam's all beaten up as well. Sam's trying to talk to Corbett, and it seems like he's almost drugged, but I don't think he is. I think he's just disoriented.
I think it's, he was hit in the head, so...
Yeah. Sam saying, you know, keep listening to my voice. I'm right here. Stay awake. And then we hear Daggett, or like what we assume to be Daggett. Mm-hmm. And he like picks up a knife and is like, don't worry. It's not going to hurt. Mm-hmm. And I feel so bad for Sam in this.
Yeah.
Because he's tied to the chair. There's nothing he can do. Mm-hmm. And like, he just sees Corbett get stabbed in the throat.
Yeah. I wrote this like, this is so conspiracy theory bullshit. I was like, stab through the throat is such a weird way to die because he's almost like silencing Corbett. Mm-hmm. But why? I don't know. Look, put your tinfoil hat on for a second. Put it on. Find it. Put it on. I don't know. There's just something with the way they treat queer people in Supernatural that's like a little bit... I mean, why did they have to kill Corbett? I mean, I know actually they killed Corbett for almost like a joke in this episode because the comment that's made at the end, which it's taken quite seriously now by the fandom, but at the time that it would have been aired, that it would have been a joke, right?
Yeah, and I think it's also because he's the intern. There's a little bit of that as well.
That is a trope. The intern does die in a lot of stuff. Oh yeah, I feel sorry. I agree with you. I feel sorry for Sam in this situation. I feel sorry for Corbett too. We don't really know him as a character. Yeah,
like, I mean, obviously we're not into having characters die, and that's not what I meant, but like, you know, Sam very much like Dean wants to save people, and he's, you know, not even 6 feet away, and there's nothing he can do.
Yeah, exactly. It's sad. It's a sad death, and it's also extremely creepy because of the cake and the confetti and the music.
Yeah.
Cuts back, and you know, Harry and Maggie are still looking for people. Dean explains that if this guy was a Cold War nut, he probably has a... I thought he was going to say the word bunker at some point, but he doesn't. He calls it a bomb shelter, and so he's looking for that as they're walking around. We see Sam again, and like Daggett is like coming close to him with something. He's like, get away from me, but he puts a party hat onto Sam.
Get away from me. This won't hurt. It's okay.
Mm-hmm. It's such a chilling visual because Sam's all like beat up, and then he's got his like party hat on his face, and he looks so unhappy. And I don't like. I think it's ruined party hats for me. This episode.
I mean, party hats kind of suck anyway.
Yeah, and it like keeps going back to like Corbett's face as well. He's like clearly dead, and you're like, oh, this is horrible. It's very Blair Witch. It reminds me of the Blair Witch Project.
Going back to like the previous scene, we see like again like something we don't really see with Dean. His like thinking, because he says he was scared. He was scared. He repeats it. Like usually we wouldn't have seen that. It would have just been like he was scared. Okay, this is where it is.
He was scared. He was scared. He was scared.
Scared of what?
So I think it's just interesting that like his thought process is to say it over and over and over again until the idea like kind of comes to him.
It's interesting as well because he's talking about Daggett like he was lonely, like he almost kind of it's like he's kind of empathizing with him slightly. He was lonely. He wanted people to be around him because he was scared. I wonder how much Dean is. Although Daggett's like a crazy, he's kind of like killing people or like using their bodies for birthday parties. I don't think that's quite Dean, but maybe he can empathize a little with the mindset of wanting people to be around you.
So then we see the party hat thing, and then we're now in like a stairway type area, and he finds his like bomb shelter, and he guesses it's in the basement and the door is locked. So this is how you kick in a door. Dean kicks in the door and only Spruce and Dean get through. And again, someone had to get through with a camera. So it was either going to be Spruce or Maggie.
Yeah.
Or, I mean, I guess the head camera too, but they would want better angles. Ed is saying it's not funny. Who closed the door? And they can't open it again. Dean tells them to go to get the salt out of his duffel bag, make a circle and get inside. And I understand this, like not quite understanding what someone meant, because you're all panicked and everything. And so Ed and Harry are like, inside? That's stupid. Inside your duffel bag?
I love it so much.
Dean's like, no, the salt.
Get inside the salt, you idiot.
Inside your duffel bag?
In the salt, you idiot!
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So the Dean goes down the stairs to Spruce, and Ed makes the circle, and they get inside. He makes a very tight circle. Like, I know they're friends and like siblings, but like it is very, very tight. And like you even see it with like the camera angles. They're like really like there's no full face, and it's just like it's really bad. It's very claustrophobic. I was just like, oh, can we back away, please?
Yeah.
They're sort of talking to each other, and like Ed says, hey, listen, if we don't die, it's totally okay if you do my sister. As if she's not her own person.
I know. I hate that. I hate it so much. Ed, it's just no, please.
Yeah. The camera starts to like flicker and stuff, so they all sort of huddle closer, and then we see Corbett's ghost, and he's standing there kind of like very much in he's now a death echo as well. I wonder how a death echo is formed, right? They just say they're very rare.
It seems like just from the way that the ones that they had there, that I've like kind of died a traumatic death, so like a murder or or an accident or like something like that. So I'm guessing it's that kind of thing, an unexpected death maybe, or just something that's linked with a lot of emotion, which it would kind of make sense, and that's usually in, I won't say ghost lore, in our universe they usually equate it to that, right? It's always people who've been like murdered or in a tragic accident or that form ghosts. It's never like an old lady who like died peacefully in her sleep. Like that's never a ghost. So,
Yeah.
I mean, Corbett stood there like he's not able to speak because he was stabbed through the throat. It would have been interesting. It's a shame they did it, because it would have actually been interesting to hear what Corbett would say to them, or like what, because he didn't really have any final words. So there was, I wonder if he would. Oh, he does speak later, right?
He has. Yeah, because it's more like at the base of his throat that he gets stabbed rather than like where your voice box is.
Yeah, so he does speak later. Okay, fine. And so, Ed's like, oh, Corbett. Like, it's really sad. Dean and Spruce are in the basement. Bruce asks Dean, earlier you and Sam said you only had 2 months left.
Earlier, you and Sam. You said you had 2 months left? It's complicated. A while ago, Sam.
Spruce is such an earwigger. Like, he's just overhearing everything. He knows everything that's going on. And Dean said, yeah, it's complicated a while ago. No. I think he says here, I'm not going to whine about my bitch problems to some bitch reality show. That's the only swear words I could get to fit. And I think he just says, I'm going to do my fucking job.
No. I'm not gonna whine about my problems to some reality show. I'm gonna do my job.
Yeah, that one for sure.
Bruce asks if he has cancer, and we have said before it's kind of like Dean has kind of a terminal illness. He just doesn't just shut up.
Yeah.
Is it cancer?
Shut up.
With this line, like the way that he looks at the camera for a second, I was like, oh, is he going to do his like whole charm thing? Like, you know, how he did for The Usual Suspects?
Yeah.
I thought that was what he was going to go with it, because let's be real, Dean loves the camera. He loves it. Just maybe not in this setting. So I thought he was just going to put on like a charming smile, and then like he completely diverts it and it's like, nah.
Yeah, it's kind of like he has no respect for these people.
No, it is very much like Asylum. Like they do not appreciate people going to haunted places just to go to haunted places.
Yeah. And like in Hell House, they treat them with the exact same contempt that they treated them the first time they met them. It just hasn't changed.
Yes. Yeah, because, I mean, their whole thing is to... Ed and Harry, they're trying to ghost hunt to get famous, get money, get, you know, status, whatever. Women.
Probably.
I mean, that's what they said in Hell House.
That's true.
But Sam and Dean, they do it to save people, and also, you know, they're raised in it and what have you. So I do feel like if someone came into your job with such disrespect, why would you treat them with any kind of anything but disdain?
It's the same tension they have with Bella, right?
Yes.
That they think that she's doing it for the wrong reasons. I feel like they're a bit self-righteous about it, actually.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
At times.
They never come to any other viewpoint than their own.
No, they're extremely stubborn. But I think we kind of know that about the Winchesters, that they're extremely stubborn and kind of stuck in their worldview.
And I mean, it starts all the way back with Mary, to be fair.
I mean, yeah, Mary is the headstrong one, really. Like, you know, I feel like John was probably a bit softer before the whole demon thing happened. Yeah. Bruce starts hearing music, and Dean's like realizes that it's coming from behind a wall, and he manages to push a cabinet away, and like Spruce is like, wow, you're strong.
Wow, you're strong.
And Dean just flips him like a middle finger.
So basically, everybody who interacts with Sam and Dean falls in love with Dean, no matter, like, because Spruce is like into him now too.
Even Lilith was like the tall one and the cute one.
Yeah, exactly.
It's so true.
Though I feel like he flipped him off more because like he didn't help.
I think that's partly it. And it's like filing cabinet dude. Daggett's about to kill Sam. He's saying kind of the same things he was saying to Corbett before he stabbed him. But luckily, Dean breaks in and shouts, Sam! So this is one thing that's not edited by Chuck, is them constantly shouting each other's names when they're in trouble. It's just amazing. He manages to shoot Daggett with some salt and untie Sam. Spruce notices that the table is full of corpses, including Corbett. And it's like, oh no, Corbett, it's really sad.
It is really sad. I was thinking about, in the context of this episode, right, they have just filmed multiple dead bodies.
I thought this would never have been... Who were they going to send this to? Because no one would have aired this.
No, like the disrespect of that, they would have, no.
They literally filmed their friend's murder and then were like, oh, we're going to make a TV show out of this. It's extremely disrespectful.
Even for 2008, I think this would have been too much had this been in the context of this, like the idea that this is a reality show and this is like some people have actually done this and then they try to send it to like a producer.
The interesting thing is if so say they had sent this footage to a producer or whatever, I think that Harry and Ed come across as so like into it and kind of they big themselves up so much. I don't think anyone would have believed that it was real.
Yeah.
So it would have been like, oh, okay, you guys did a good job with the special effects in this. You know, no one would have believed it was real footage. So yeah, it's an interesting one, and I can't believe they put all the stuff in that they did put into this. And you think about them, because they are actually like this is the final product of what they made. So it would have had all
they
these
literally
shots in.
showed Corbett's actual death.
An actual death. So, no, this would never have got made, Ed and Harry. Like, what it was then. We go back to the living room. Harry, Ed, and Maggie are still in the salt circle. And Ed is actually freaking out. Like, he's saying, like, what have we done? What have we done? Because their friend is dead. And, you know, Harry's just trying to comfort him and says to Ed, like, Corbett's a death echo. He's reliving his own murder, you know, over and over, forever. So I feel like Ed's freaking out, but Harry's kind of thinking about it a bit more again, and what actually is happening.
So again, very much like Sam and Dean, though the Ed's freak out is not so much like Dean. I don't think he would freak out in this kind of way. Like, we don't really see that.
No, I don't think so too. As we see Spruce and Sam and Dean, like, Spruce asks what was the ghost's problem, and Sam says it was loneliness. Dean says he never heard of a real doll, which is like a sex doll, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for that, Dean. And Sam says no, he took the bodies from the morgue, threw himself a birthday party with them because they were the only ones who would come, and at midnight sealed them in the bomb shelter, went upstairs and OD'd on horse tranquilizers. And Dean asks how he knows this, and Sam says, because he told me. And what's interesting is they didn't put any of this footage in, but surely they must have had some because Corbett's camera was still running.
Well, so they would have only had the audio because the one on Corbett's head was now facing the table, and the other in his hand is to his face. So they probably did hear all of that, but
it works fine because Sam explains it. Yeah. You know, but yeah, I just thought it was interesting that they didn't kind of, like, I don't know, have some kind of, again, like the audio subtitles. Dean says, okay, so now what? He's trying to get people to come to his party, and Sam says, yeah, pretty much. And, you know, they load up the shotgun with more salt, with Spruce kind of confirming that it's salt. It's an interesting one because we all know it's salt. There's no need for that question, but because Spruce doesn't know, he asks.
And so it was at this point that I was like, oh, you know, he has no respect for these people. But when Hendrickson in last week's episode asked about, like, you know, killing things with condiments, like, he was much more open to it. And again, it makes sense because Hendrickson understood the mindset of Sam and Dean. Yeah. Because he was being a FBI agent. He was saying that he spent years trying to find one person and maybe save a few, and, like, understood that they could take out something and save many.
Exactly. And also, you know, Hendrickson was going to use his powers for good, essentially. You know, he wasn't going to try and make a TV show or sell artifacts to whoever Bella's selling artifacts to. He was going to help them hunt some demons. So they had much more respect for him, especially Dean.
And he, like, I feel like he also respects their, like, Hendrickson's skill set, whereas he doesn't respect people with a camera. Because he even asked Maggie, like, does that make you feel better? Yeah. Like, seeing it all through a camera, and she's like, yeah.
I mean, yeah, I think that's real.
Whereas, like, Hendrickson was up to facing fact.
I mean, yeah, they completely don't understand these people at all. Like, why would they go looking for danger in this way? Where Hendrickson didn't really ask for that either. You know, he didn't know what he was getting himself into when he arrested Sam and Dean.
Yeah, you know? and I feel like he took the experience of being possessed and grew from it. Whereas the experience that they had with the tulpa, like Ed and Harry had with the tulpa, they were like, okay, it's real, so we can make money off of it.
Yeah, they learned nothing from that. They learned literally nothing from that. So we come back to the living room. Harry is singing the Ghostfacers theme tune softly to himself.
Ghostfacers, they go to places where others will not. Ghostfacers, stay in the kitchen gets...
And Corbett appears again. You know, Ed says, look, it's Corbett. He's trapped. He's in a lot of pain. We've got to try and pull him out of his loop. We have to, because they saw Dean try and do it earlier, like shouting at that guy.
And that one-liner from Sam is coming up.
It's coming up. So Ed stands up and he faces Corbett, and, like, Harry's like, what are you going to do? Don't cross the salt line. And Ed hesitates but then steps over and just says, like, I gotta do it.
Oh God! Don't cross the line. I gotta do it, Harry. Corbett.
He kind of tries, but it doesn't really work. You know, he's sort of just saying like, I'm not going to hurt, you know, I'm not going to hurt you. Just listen to me, all that kind of stuff. It's nothing very personal. And he kind of goes back and he's like, he's not hearing me at all.
I do notice that this loop, I think Corbett did hear him in this, because his loop is much longer than before. Before he came up real fast, got killed, and then disappeared. Then he came back, and now he's staying there. So I think he heard Ed. Yeah. And is trying to stay because, you know, the Corbett's ghost starts flickering, but he doesn't disappear. Yeah. And then we go down into the basement. So they're back at the door and they're trying to break it down. And Spruce tells them, hey guys, the ghost thing is happening again and something's coming, and Spruce gets like thrown across the room by Daggett, falls to the ground. So they're about to go into some sort of fight scene, obviously. So we're back in the living room with Harry and Ed, and Harry's like, I know how we can get through to him. And Ed is asking how, and he reveals that Corbett had feelings for Ed and that he had to basically... he doesn't get it at first, which I don't know how much clearer you can be saying he had feelings for you. Harry then clarifies, he says he wanted you, and then Ed's like, wanted me to what? Like, he's purposely being ignorant at that point.
Ed is Dean. Sorry. I just need to clarify this. Ed is Dean. In this situation. We could have had this conversation in like, I don't know, season 14 or whatever, with Sam saying this to him and being like, you know, Cass is in love with you, right? And or like, you know, be like, oh yeah, you know, of course he is. It's like, no, not like that. And it would have been the exact same conversation
with the demonstration and everything.
Everything, the movements, amazing. Yeah, so eventually Ed does get it, and Harry says, Ed, you can do it, you've always been brave, you make us brave. And then he turns to Mag and he's like, right
get in on this,
come on, help me here. And then he says this line, Ed, you've got to go be gay for that poor dead intern, you've got to send him into the light.
Ed, you got to go be gay for that poor dead intern. You gotta send him into the light.
There's something about that. I don't... Like, you could just turn it on. Just turn on the gay switch. You can do that, right? You just turn it on and you just go do that. Oh my god.
It's like, that's not how... Everyone knows that's not how it works. And also, we already know that Ed is not straight, so...
I mean, yeah, I'm almost 100% sure that Ed is not straight. Yeah. Okay. So he was just moving his biometer.
Yes. Yeah. He was at least bi-curious.
Right. That's how it works, right? If you're bisexual, you're either straight or gay, and so you're one or the other. Surely, you know, the pendulum just swings. That's how it goes.
Exactly.
I am joking.
Did you not know this?
I am joking. Yeah. So, you know, Ed walks up to Corbett and he says to him, like, it's just me, buddy. Again, buddy. He goes, listen to me. You know, you meant a lot to the team. You meant a lot to me. It's very much, I love you, all of you, moment. Yes. For poor Corbett. He goes, you never back down, never say a bad word. Okay, I remember that. I remember that because I love you. I really, truly love you. Do you remember that, do you? It's with this that Corbett turns to him and says, hey, Ed.
Can we also talk about the single man tier?
I saw the single man tier. I wrote it down in my notes. We were on the same page. I saw the single man tier. Ed is Dean. Dean is Ed. I can't believe they made this parallel.
Ben, I have some questions for you, Ben. What is this?
What is this? Also, what snapped him out of it? This is a question we'll ask later on in, like, season 8. What snapped him out of it? Because it sure wasn't platonic bro love.
Yeah, no, it definitely was not. He says, I love you.
And it snaps him out of it. Anyway.
And it's not even that he clarifies. He says, I love you. I really, truly love you.
Yeah, this isn't open for interpretation here.
I remember that. I remember that because I love you, Corbett. I really, truly love you.
I really hope Ed meant it, because I can see, you know, he kind of does come across as a really insincere person, but for Corbett's sake, I hope he meant it. It's never really clarified, so I guess it is open for interpretation. Why?
Well, it's 2008 television, and no, it wasn't going to happen on CW.
Ed should have kissed Corbett. If it wasn't 2008, Ed would kiss Corbett.
So the only reason why I'm like, is because Corbett's technically a ghost.
Ghosts, you can touch a ghost. They proved that.
Right, but like, it feels kind of wrong to kiss a ghost. It almost feels a bit, little on the illegal side.
No, I think in the context of Supernatural, it's fine to kiss a ghost, and that's going to be taken out of context.
Which, I mean, I guess anytime that I'm not sure if they've ever done this, but I guess anytime they've kissed like a vampire. Oh God, actually,
just
never
don't
mind.
Think about Buffy. You can't watch Buffy if you think this.
Well, so actually, oh God, what episode was it? Mm-hmm. The zombie one?
Yeah.
He made out with a zombie.
He made out with a zombie.
That's even worse.
That's worse.
Yeah, okay.
That was worse.
All right,
and that was weirdly unconsensual. I feel like this would be fine. Ed asks Corbett for help. He says, you know, it's me, look at me, you've got to help us, man, you have to help us, Corbett. With that, it cuts back to Sam, Spruce and Dean. The cut is when they would have kissed, by the way, in my headcanon.
Yeah, of course.
So Sam's talking to Spruce and telling him to take it easy. Like, Daggett appears behind Dean and there's like a whole tussle thing. And then this kind of like weird thing happens and the light flickers and Corbett appears behind Daggett and Ghost. I don't even know how to describe it. Like,
They have a ghost It's the only thing that I can compare it to is like when in like the Looney Tunes when they fight and like the arms, like a dust cloud and arms and stuff like fly out everywhere. That's the only thing I can compare it to.
It's exactly like that. It's exactly like that. Yeah, and they disappear in like a really like harsh flash of light. Sam and Dean get thrown to the floor and we kind of see themselves get back up again, you know, and this is the point where Dean's like had enough and he's like, stop filming.
Yeah.
Do you think it's because he hurt his face? He doesn't want to be seen on camera with...
No, I think he's actually a little bit embarrassed that he got bested by a ghost.
Yeah, because
I think that's what it was.
Right?
Yeah.
He's like, no, what? Bobby ever sees this. We'll never hear the end of it.
I told you to put it on a bungee.
Oh gosh.
So, you know, we see the Ghostfacer and we come back from the ad break and we now see that the door is like... No, we get some really nice shots of the Impala in like sunrise and like the house as well. And the door is now open. This is what I don't quite understand. I know this is the whole point of like ghosts and stuff, that they only come out at night, blah, blah, blah. But like,
yeah,
because the whole thing is to stay the night in this house because no one's done it. What's to say that the door would have opened in the morning?
I think the ghost is gone though.
Right. So but I'm just thinking, had the ghost not been gone and they couldn't have done anything, would the door have opened?
Maybe they only had to stay the duration of the birthday party. And maybe that was that night. You know, if they managed to survive the birthday party, they might have got out. But I mean, yeah, you're right. You don't know. They might have been stuck there.
And it's weird that it's midnight on the 29th and it's not until March 1st.
It would have made more sense, I feel, because they managed to survive the 29th, which maybe was his birthday. You know,
yeah.
So maybe that was it. But yeah, and it is what it is, Annabelle. It's Supernatural with ghosts.
Yeah, that's true. And also, it's sunrise after possibly like 2 hours.
Yeah, well, yeah. What did they do for the rest of the night? Really, they must have been fine because the ghost must have gone because they actually did survive to the morning, and that maybe only took until 12:15.
1 o'clock at latest.
Right, exactly. There's like a voiceover, and we hear Ed talking about like how they did it. It's all very poetic and very tragic over the top. We lost a beloved friend, but we gained new allies. It's like, okay, this kind of goes on. Harry says, the Ghostfacers were forced to face something more scary than ghosts. They were forced to face themselves.
The Ghostfacers were forced to face something far more scary than ghosts. They were forced to face themselves.
Yeah. So they're back in their, like, they're not in the house anymore. They're in their, like, setup at the very beginning of this episode.
Yeah.
Just to sort of clarify, like, where they're at now. Yeah, and Ed says, "War changes man," which I don't know what that quote is from.
Yeah, they kind of change this and say, like, "and Maggie." They kind of talk to Corbett and say, like, Ed says, "You know, Corbett, we just like to think you're out there watching over us." And Harry says, "As far as we're concerned, you're not an intern anymore. You've earned full Ghostfacer status. Plus, it would be cool to have a ghost on the team." Like he's not definitely gone. Like, whatever happened seemed to be a mutual disappearance of the ghosts. But fine.
Yeah.
Oh, this is the line of the episode. This is it.
How gay love can pierce through the veil of death and save the day.
Yep.
Gay love can pierce through the veil of death and save the day. It became...
Mr. Edlund, sir.
How did you know?
Questions.
How did you know?
Questions. What did you do? Who did you speak to? Where is your soul going? Yes.
Yeah, I think he was blessed with the gift of prophecy. I do believe that in my soul. I mean, it's true. I mean, people do quote this a lot. I think it's funny, but also it did kind of become one of the main tenets of Supernatural.
Yep.
There's a lot of places that this is true.
Yes, absolutely.
I'm thinking, God, there's so many. There
are so many. And what's so stupid is that, like, it's so accurate. It's not even like, oh, you can interpret it this way. It's word for word exactly true. Because it always saves the day, it's always against death, and it's always gay love. Like, what is this show? What is this show?
I mean, and like, do you think Ben Edlund looks at that line and then looks at some things that happened in Supernatural later on? Like, I'm thinking, I don't know why it's coming to mind to me personally, but the crypt scene in season 8, I think it's season 8, and I'm like, Mr. Edlund, do you ever look back at some of the things, you know, the things that have been shot in Supernatural and looked at this line and been like, yeah, do you know I was right? Because, like, so you should be proud of yourself, and we appreciate it. I really, really do.
I want to ask, like, how he, I say in quotation marks, how he got away with this line as well.
See, this is the one thing. This is the thing about this, is that now you could take this sincerely, right? So you could actually take this sincerely, because actually no one says gay love anymore. No one says that. And by kind of adding the word gay to love in this time period would have made it makes this a comedic line, which is no good, really. And is quite problematic. It works because of the context of Supernatural now and where we've got to. So you could equate this as like, love between two men or two women can pierce through the veil of death and save the day. Like, love itself can do this. Mm-hmm. But I think in 2008 specifically, it's comedically delivered.
Yeah. This was played for laughs.
It was played for laughs, and you can't get away from that. Yes, it ended up to be true in a very sincere way in Supernatural. But like a lot of things that happen on this show, I feel like that's purely accidental. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm going to give Mr. Edlund the benefit of the doubt because he's written some banger episodes. I just think about The Man Who Would Be King, like, and I think it kind of makes up for this as well, to make it sincere in retrospect. Mm-hmm. If that makes sense. I don't know. Maybe I'm being too like.
Well, I mean, you have to give room for people to grow, right? The time that this was written and the time that The Man Who Would Be King to be written, a lot has changed in society and like the acceptance of everything.
Yeah.
While yes, he might have played this for laughs, he grew from that and wrote.
But also, at this point in TV, this is the only way to write a gay romantic story, mm-hmm. right? Is to play it for this kind of like comedic reasons. And this, I feel like this is very sincere. I think Corbett's a really sweet character who clearly is in love with Ed. I think Ed kind of does have feelings for him in some way. I don't think he could have been able to tell him that he loved him if he didn't have some kind of feelings for him. And the only way to get these stories, I feel like in 2008, is to put a kind of funny spin. They could only have got away with this in a comedic episode.
Yeah, definitely. And also, I wonder if it would have been the case if it was 2 women. I think to like Buffy at this time. But actually, I don't think Willow had come out as gay yet.
I can't honestly remember the timeline for Buffy, but Buffy felt not groundbreaking, but it felt like they were doing something different with Willow. Like, I remember it being like, oh, you don't see people like this on television at the time. And I don't think Supernatural was ever trying to do anything like that and be any kind of social commentary at all.
Yeah.
They were just there to like drink some beer and drive some cars and, you know what I mean?
They were being modern cowboys.
They were, yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, yeah, I really appreciate I love it now in retrospect. Probably would not have liked it so much at the time. Yeah, it's great. I love it. You know, that's kind of they kind of show then like this little clip of Corbett, just kind of what sort of person he was, and like it just makes you sad. Like, why did you have to show us this? Because it makes me so much sadder. You know, it's Spruce talking to Corbett and saying to him, "What do you think?" So he says, "Corbett, confess. What do you think's going to happen tonight? What do you think's going to happen on this trip?" And Corbett says, "I think tonight, I really do. I think all of our dreams are going to come true." Does that sound stupid? Spruce says, yeah, it does, but like...
I think tonight, I really do. I think all our dreams are gonna come true. Does that sound stupid?
Kinda does, yeah.
Corbett?
Oh.
Like, yeah. So it does say how old he was here, so 23? So we're kind of right about them being in their early, kind of almost mid-20s. Now...
Well, before we move on, I do think 3 dreams came through. We never really get Spruce's motivation for being in the Ghostfacers, so like we can't say for certain like what his dream was. But like Corbett heard Ed that he loved him. Ed and Harry got to actually fight or capture Ghost on film.
Yeah.
And Harry got a girlfriend.
It's true. Yeah, it's true.
So there were a few.
Yeah, there was a few.
I do love how they did this transition. They like pull back from the camera and like it's shown to be on like a monitor. And now we see like the quality shift to be like we're basically in Chuck's world again, and we see this is when I know. Well, they then show the credits of like who directed, who wrote it, who was starring in it. That all starts to come up.
Yeah,
and it was at that point I was like, oh yeah, they didn't actually do that at the beginning of this episode,
right? Because they're showing again like who's in charge of the episode now. They weren't in charge before of all the stuff you see now, but this bit they did, and that's why you can see the shift between what's being, you know, shown by Chuck and the network and what's being shown by, you know, and then shifting, so it is that, and then you get all the credits, and it was super interesting. Oh no, isn't it funny that we did get like a gay love story on the non-network version of like, you know, what's not being shown. And then they kind of asked Sam and Dean what they thought of it, and I think Dean said that he thought it was half awesome.
You know, I kind of think it was half awesome.
Half awesome? That's full on good, right?
Which is...
I do love how what Sam says and saying like, you know, because Maggie's like, oh, half awesome, don't you mean full on, right? And Sam's like, yeah. I mean, it's bizarre how you're able to honor Corbett's memory while grossly exploiting the manner of his death. Like...
Yeah, I mean, it's bizarre how y'all are able to honor Corbett's memory while grossly exploiting the manner of his death. Well done.
Yeah, no, it's a real tight rope you guys are walking.
I mean, that's what we
we were saying.
Yeah, exactly. You know, they kind of like have this conversation about the show they just watched. And, you know, it's our job to share this with the world and make sure that everyone sees it. And Sam says, in our experience, do you know what you get when you show the world the truth? And Dean finishes his sentence and says, a straitjacket or a punch in the face, sometimes both.
Our experience, you know what you get when you show the world the truth?
A straight jacket. Or a punch in the face. Sometimes both.
I was like, oh. You know, they kind of...
So I start to laugh because Harry responds with like, oh, come on, guys, don't be facer haters.
Come on, guys, don't be facer haters.
Footage of the century is great. So yeah, Dean's like, oh yeah, you know, you got us this pretty good footage. Okay, see you around, bye. Like, Bruce says, peace out. And as they leave, Harry calls them dicks. And... This is why, again, I was like, oh, we're back to Supernatural, because I fully remember them saying in a convention that they were allowed to say dicks. It got past the censors. Like, it's a specific word, like a swear word, that they're allowed to use, because it does have, like, other meanings, like, basically. So I just thought it was funny they added that specific swear word in there, because I'm like, after all the other ones they bleeped out in this episode, just to show like, oh, okay, we're back to network censorship. Harry's like bigging them all up, like, we're going to go national, we're going to go international, and then Ed finds Dean's duffel bag under the table, and he gets up this like cartoon looking bomb.
Yes. I was like, is he gonna kill them all?
Literally was like, you gonna blow them up, Dean? Like, what are you doing? But no, it starts to like, everything goes on the fritz. And so it's like an EMP, so it's like a big electromagnet, which would wipe all their drives and everything. And you kind of hear them shouting as Sam and Dean come outside.
We clean?
No! Are you kidding me? Because you can hear him like, no. Dean explains what's happened, in case you don't know. The electromagnet has wiped every tape and hard drive that they have.
Why is it Dean that's explaining this? Like, in my mind, it's Sam who understands technology, but then I guess Dean understands weaponry, so...
This is it though, isn't it? Because... You know, Dean is smart. He built the EMF meter, like he maintains the Impala. He is very technical. I fully believe he could build an EMP if he wanted to, but it is quite out of the... It's very, Chuck wrote this.
Yeah, Chuck didn't want their faces to get out, especially since they are now officially dead.
Well, yeah, they needed to get rid of the footage because they are dead, but I feel like it's also a retaliation from Chuck. Like, how dare these people in my universe, like, use Sam and Dean in this way? They're not their characters, they're my characters. So he had to orchestrate a way for them to wipe the footage so it could never be seen by anybody.
I love the fact that Sam says the world just isn't ready for the Ghostfacers.
And Dean admits he kind of liked it, right?
World just isn't ready for the Ghostfacers.
That's too bad. I kind of like the show.
So yeah, they start the Impala and they drive off. The Ghostfacers theme tune is playing as they drive away. And over the black screen, we get Ed saying, "That is money in the bank."
That is money in the bank.
It's great. It's a good ending. We do see Ed and Harry a couple more times in the show. But I think we should watch the YouTube shorts as well as we go through this, because it is really interesting. I love the bit with Castiel. It's like the best bit of like TV I've ever seen. And because I really enjoy them as characters. I really do. I think it's an interesting take on the supernatural universe.
I am surprised this episode did not rate well. So I'm just looking at the IMDb page. It got a 7.7.
That's so weird. I thought it was super good. I really enjoyed it. I like
too. Some
people don't like sort of meta, like big outside of the meta episodes.
Yeah,
where it kind of draws back. But I can kind of understand that viewpoint too.
And also, again, it's got that whole air of like, we're closing into the finale, like we only have 3 episodes left. Why are they showing this? Like, we didn't want this filler episode. We wanted like a story episode, I guess. But it's just like,
I'm going to start referring to filler episodes that we didn't need as Baba Yaga episodes.
Yeah,
I think so. I think I am. Because that's what I could see why people would think that, especially with so much on the line. I mean, we know where it's going to go, so we know it doesn't really matter in this case. But, if you're watching this live, you're like, they've only got like so many episodes left to resolve Dean going, how are they going to save him in 3 episodes? And it's like, poor sweet summer child.
Exactly.
Do you think this episode does come under the bury your gays trope, or do you think that it sidesteps it because Corbett died before he got told that he was loved? And also we knew that he loved Ed before, or like had a thing for Ed before he died.
I do think it can be classified under that, bury the gay. The thing is, they limited themselves with this episode by, making it men heavy, in that, it's in the Ghostfacer team. There's 5 of them, 4 of them are men, 1 of them's a woman. Yeah. The very specific line of like, you have to have a connection to the person who's died. Well, it couldn't have been Maggie because she was into Harry. Yeah. It couldn't have been Spruce because he wasn't there. Yeah. So there was only Ed left. And I mean, I guess they could have gone for friendship, but then like it becomes too serious. So if they didn't want to go with this trope, they could have had another woman there. And like they could have still kept, they could have still kept Corbett being into into Ed. But you'd still have the woman, like, basically have 2 interns and have, like, some sort of weird love triangle. So, like... a love corner.
Love triangle always really annoys me. It's a love corner. If one person and 2 people are into them, that's a corner, not a triangle.
I was actually going to explain it as a triangle. So it's like Ed was being into the woman intern. The woman intern's into Corbett, and Corbett's into...
That's true. Love triangles only exist with either gay or bisexual people. Actual love triangles, yeah.
But you would still have. I think it would still fall into that trope. So yeah, it doesn't. It wouldn't fix it. It would just be, instead of like, they wouldn't have been able to have like a gay love line. Yeah.
Ben Edlund also perfectly parodied Supernatural by having mainly male characters with, very close friendships, but he went the full way and made that more than a friendship. Yes. So, maybe he was also making a commentary on Supernatural as a whole, they don't have many women characters, so that means that you are going to be looking for romantic connections between the male characters, because... people love to put people into relationships. They just like to do it in TV shows. So if you have a very, if you have one gender in your show and you write the other one as just, not very well, then what do you expect is going to happen?
Yeah, I mean, like you've mentioned many times with Star Trek, like it's the same situation. There are not many female characters in the original series. Not at all. So, of course, and like when the 2 main characters are always together, what do you expect to happen?
Exactly, right? Yeah. It's funny to me. But yeah, I agree with you. I think it does. It's a different way of it happening, but I do think it falls into the trope. It's, well, I don't know when we're going to stop giving excuses for time period.
Well, I think when it gets to the 2010s, I think they can't get away with some of the stuff that they're doing.
2010, you no longer get any kind of pass on this, and you're like, no, we're definitely coming for you.
Yeah, because when was gay marriage legalized?
I want to say like 2016.
It was 2015.
Okay, that's close.
Yeah, so it was being accepted, like same-sex relationships were being accepted well before that. Yeah. So I would say 2010 is a good cut-off point of being like, okay, you no longer get away with it.
You've had your homophobic time period. Now we're into the modern age. Yeah. So, Annabelle, what episode is coming up next?
Next is Long Distance Call. I don't remember this one. at all.
No, I have zero recollection of the last 3 episodes of this season, apart from the actual ending. I think because at the time I found it so traumatic that I've just blocked the other episodes out of my brain. I remember what happens to some of the characters, but the last image of season 3 is burned into my psyche.
Yeah, mine too. So we get a lovely directorial return of Robert Singer. So look out for those zooms, people. Yeah, no idea what this episode's about. I would imagine it's not as plot heavy as people would like, because this has got an 8.0. So there's probably going to be plot, but not enough for people to appreciate it, or not enough to fill out what they want. I don't think it's a Baba Yaga episode. I think we've just had it. So yeah,
looking forward to that one.
Thank you to the Pixel Agora for our lovely episode art, or podcast art. You can find that on stickers, magnets, t-shirts, bags, what have you, on Redbubble. And every purchase of something that's got our logo on it, part of that, the profit of it goes to them. So go support your local internet artist. You can also find us on all of the social medias. We're most active on Tumblr, Twitter, and Instagram. So come send us a message about your thoughts on the episodes and your trauma. No, we don't want your trauma. We want a supernatural trauma.
So this week, we found a handheld camera in the woods and we decided to reenact the Blair Witch Project, but then I got too scared when I found Annabelle standing in a corner of a room, so we stopped. And next week, hopefully, we can find our way out. Bye!
Bye!